So happy you're here.
I made it. Hi, everyone. Is this working? Can you hear me? Well, I missed the speaker meeting, so I will stay on the mat.
Stay on the rug.
And we're going to throw it all on. The theme of my talk is throwing it all on the field, so I'm just going to throw it all on what my mother would say is the most beautiful cost-plus rug I have ever seen. Okay.
And it matters.
So this is Class A. This is Class A.
Pottery Barn, and it matters, yes.
I am so happy to be here, and this woman and all of the women in this room are so dynamic, and I'm so humbled. It's a good day. It's a good day. I have $210 in my bank account. It's a good day. And I have everything that I need. I get lonely sometimes. My husband died of leukemia last year on Father's Day at 11:19 while my babies watched in the room after we brought him out of the hospital, hoping that he would have a couple of days. He decided that night that it was time to go, and I kneeled over him and I said, "Go. I love you, and you have done so much and have given me everything I could have possibly imagined. All my prayers have been answered. It's your time, and I swear to you," his soul literally, it's difficult to describe. It bolted through my body twice, and my friends and community, those who were around us at that amazing time, I screamed and I said, "Did you guys feel that?" After I closed his eyes and wiped the bubbles from his lips, and my woman interrupted, my sister, in spirit and in love. She said, "No, that was just for you." It was that day that I realized that everything that could possibly happen in my life, every award that I thought I would never I got, came and went. The young people that I have worked so hard for, girls in cages who have been trafficked around the nation times 10 before they were 15, and the answer that we give them is we lock them in concrete and steel cages. Everything that I've done, all the places that I had traveled, the daughter that had gotten into college, I had her when I was 19. She's right there, our baby, Kevin and I, the one that I dreamed of. Possibly I could not be a baby mama, I could be a wife, and we could bring a baby into the world with hippie Jewish doulas singing India. I did that, and when he left, I was still living on that bed in our beautiful room in North Oakland with Pottery Barn sheets and money in the bank. And when they came to take him, I sat outside with girlfriends and smoked cigarettes and drunk wine with gratitude. It was an illustrious moment of gratitude and of thanks. I tell you that story because we've all been through so much, and as the world continues to take you to your knees, I ask you, just throw it on the field and keep going, because what will stop you is the very thing that will make you more fierce. Kevin left me, and every day folks say, "How do you do it? You're a young widow." I actually get on the BART and cry every day. It's a really nice place because nobody gives a shit. No one gives a shit. I'm bawling. I mean, I use that time every single day. I get baby to preschool. Amina's upstairs, my oldest daughter, getting ready, doing all these things with a smoky eye, and I'm just waiting to get to the BART to cry. Because therein lies my power. Turning pain into power. All these years, I started at 19 years old as an executive director in a small nonprofit in San Francisco, the Center for Young Women's Development. I am still on that board. The goal of that organization over the years has been to free young women from poverty, free young women from the latches of sexual slavery and of incarceration. It was peer run from its inception, and they are still kicking ass. I love that work. Going into prisons and to jails, celebrating the authenticity and the resilience of young women. That was me. I was a teen mother. I lived in the projects, and through proving the world wrong that young ghetto girls could run million-dollar-plus organizations with no college education and get clean audits and continue to awe the folks in social services that we were trying to put them out of work because we wanted young women out of poverty. I got a MacArthur Fellowship Some people called it a genius fellowship, and I got that award at a very young age. I was the youngest woman to ever receive it. What was interesting about that moment and where I am now, almost 13 years later, we can get all the accolades that we dream of. But one of the things that I know is that very few things change when you get an award and you look outside and you still see poverty and degradation. When Kevin left, I had realized that I had experienced all of the professional gravitas that was laid out to me. My dream came true. I finally was able to go to college. I'm a Mills woman. I was finally able to leave social services. I directed a nonprofit that was a law firm, and I wasn't a lawyer. I started amazing programs with Kamala Harris. We changed the nature and the nomenclature of reentry within government. Everything that my daddy, who didn't raise me but who told me I could do, I did. And now, at 38, looking 27, I love it when I go out and I get in a cab with my daughter. Where are you guys going? Home. We're not going out to hang out. We're going home. But I do look 20 and she's 19. I get it. In all seriousness, the beauty of all the pain that I've experienced and the pain that I've seen on the faces of young girls and their families, how many young men that I've buried, how many GoFundMes have we started to give dignity to those who are dying? We owe them, I owe them. It was a year to the day that Kevin died on the 15th of June, just this year, and I opened up our goal book. One of the things that we always talked about, he, a journalist, a Knight Fellow at Stanford, was diagnosed 5 days before he was supposed to start his illustrious fellowship. We said we were going to break all boundaries. We were going to be more than Blackish. Like, we were going to do every single thing that we had thought that was possible in our lives now that we were raising these two girls. He knew I wanted to run for office, and in our goal book, on his side of the goal book, he wrote, and I had not read until this year, till June 15th, in 2014, I want Lateefah to run for BART. He was already sick. He knew he was going to die. He had a very fatal form of leukemia. There are no survivors after 5 years on record anywhere else in the world. Kevin knew that before I was with him, I was on BART and buses with my child, my eldest. I was born legally blind, and so BART and public transportation, even with my policy training, was something that I always pushed against. I was a criminal justice person. I wanted to open the doors and free our communities. When I saw what he wanted from me, it clicked. Of course I have to do this. I know exactly what people need because I am now back on BART and bus with groceries in the rain with my children. Of course I'm going to lead the BART system in the state of California. That's my role. And it's not only what Kevin wanted from me, it's what I have to do. Of course, I'm going to be the best philanthropist that I could be with my $210 in the bank. I'm a program director of one of the oldest foundations in this country, and I do an amazing job by fueling movement with the dollars that I get to direct. I have nothing, but I have everything, as do you. It's absolutely your responsibility and my responsibility to dig from this place to say, if not you, who? And if not now, when? It is not about leaning in. It's about being that Harriet Tubman. It's about being your great-grandmother who was able to figure out how to make beans into an illustrious feast. It's about your mother who figured out how to duck and dodge the punches, not only from male figures, but from society. It is exactly what my grandmother did when she nursed babies who didn't look like her in Arkansas. It's making something out of nothing and praying that at some point our granddaughters will be better. I am up at 6 and down by 4 a.m. every night, but not for long. Because one of the things that I know, what you know, is joy comes in the morning. We are fighters. I don't want to get rich. I want to free communities from degradation and from poverty, from ableism, from disease. And I don't do that alone, but I step up every single time I want to step back. I spent a month in the bed crying and grieving, and at some point I had to throw one leg out of the bed and then throw the other out of the bed and say, bitches, I'm back. You can come back from anything. We've seen it, and we require it of people. We require it of the young woman on the streets who's pregnant at 16. We, in our heads, require that she be something different. We require that folks who are in jail after 9 months somehow miraculously just decide they're not poor anymore and they don't need to eat and they don't need to use drugs not to be sick at night. We require people to transform until we look at the mirror and decide how hard it is for ourselves. If I was asked any of you to stop drinking red wine or smoking that secret cigarette that I do sometimes, even though I know how real cancer is, and if I told you to do it tonight, you couldn't. But after day 4, you could. After day 5, it would get a little easier. So when we talk about grief, and when we talk about fear, and when we talk about that next step, and when we talk about the impossible, whether it's the degree or it's finding peace, if not now, when? There's absolutely no white horse coming. Absolutely no next day when I get it all together, when my credit is just a little bit better, or when I move over to this side of town, or if I can just pay down my student debt a little bit more, or when I leave this relationship, or when I get another job. Like, that's not promised to any of you. And I leave this talk on the mat by saying I sat over my soulmate, the man that I never argued with, the one who cried when the Jewish jewelers pulled the baby from my womb and said, we are home. I let him go home knowing that I was going to be all right. If all of my dreams were completely flipped on their heads and I was able to throw that second leg out and say, it's actually okay to start again. And who cares how lousy I look in the very beginning? Because I have to win for these girls. How could you run for office, Lateefah, after a year and a half? Your man died, everything's changed. My answer is, how could I not? How could I not face the fears of so many women who will come behind me? Transit policy isn't rocket science, it's policy. Creating change is not rocket science. It's the freedom DNA that runs through our bodies. It's our time. Lay it all out, purge the fears, and go. Because time moves on regardless. It just does. It just does. I might die with $210 in my bank account, and I will have said I had everything that I needed. Thank you so much.